I'm sure that you are wondering what the heck is all that trauma and why would anybody start a podcast about trauma anyway? I would have loved to have heard other stories of how people were overcoming and making it through. So that is why I'm here. I'm also wanting to validate your feelings, trying to heal from traumatic experiences and feeling like you are the only person in the entire world that is going through it made it that much more difficult. So I am here to kind of remind you guys that you are not alone in this and that it is very, very real and that people do go through stuff like this all the time. And so I'm wanting to use this podcast to be a conduit for those stories and for people that are going through crazy things so that you understand that, hey, if they can get through it, then you can get through it. And yeah, the struggle is real. There are super crazy things that you're going to go through when you are dealing with trauma, but you are not the only one. Clearly, after trauma, nobody tells you that, hey, you've just made it through this crazy circumstance and now also here's this gift of anxiety and frustration and hurt and pain and depression and all of those things, and you're going to deal with that for the rest of your life. Nobody tells you that and puts it up there for you to be able to kind of bear it. I'm going to bring a positive spin to all of this. So like trauma in and of itself is a horrible word. It is a painful word. There is nothing good that surrounds it. So that's the reason for the name, all that trauma. It's just to be like, hey, like it is what it is. It's just another word. We're going to take the power away from that and really just make it more of an experience that you can actually grow from, that can bring strength, that can bring perseverance, that can bring, you're able to either share your story or you're able to grow from your story and you're able to take those challenges and it simply makes you stronger. So that is what this podcast is for. Home was a house of terror. It was just an awful place. So there's not a single good memory of this home. So that being said, that's how the beginning of my life started. In that moment of total sadness and total loss, I've lost my mother, I've lost my father, I've lost my family, my brothers, my sisters, and I'm completely alone. I remembered a peace coming over me, and that's the only way that I can describe it. Is I think that is when God just really came in there and just made his presence known. And so at night, if I had to go to the restroom, I actually had to find a way to run from the very back of the room. I would make a beeline through the door frame, and then I'd have to stop because there was actually stairs that were right in front of the door. So I'd stop right after it, and then I would go to the bathroom, and then I'd have to run from the very back of the bathroom, run into the room and like dodge the door frame so that I wouldn't sound off the alarm. I just wanted something to call my own. I wanted safety. I wanted security. I wanted all of that. Ultimately, in my 20s, I was just running. I was trying to get so far away from all of this because it was so incredibly painful. Like everything that I dealt with was so painful. All these tortures that he was about to go through, and they were awful. And so as soon as that was happening, you know, this flood of tears and this flood of everything that I'd ever gone through all of a sudden came over. Why? Like, why? Why did I have to go through this? Why so much? So from birth all the way through almost being 19 is when I graduated when I was almost 19 years old. Why did it have to be so much? So there's just shattered glass all around you and you're just trying to get yourself through it. I've dodged this for so long, but one of the things that was very, very painful that I went through and held on to for so long, and this just goes to show the severity of or the desperation for somebody to feel needed and wanted and to have a place. I'm having to look the devil in the eyes. Through every single home that I had, the one thing that I had as a foundation was God. I was always able to look and find solace and find comfort and find calm and find peace in that. Not only did I not say anything, but I left this door open, wide open for him to hurt other people. That I said, you know, okay, I'm good. And then the second that you realize, no, you're not good like this, it is not what you thought it was. But let me just tell you, it has not been easy at all to kind of go through. I already knew early on that I had already had sexual abuse, and I had to actually find it black and white, and I did. You know, I found the court documents and all that different stuff and my own testimony to it of my father's sexual abuse. And seeing that, I thought that I needed to know that, and then seeing that, I'm like, okay, this is going to be something very real to have to get through right now. Who even goes through this? Why does anybody even have to endure this? Why is this even something I'm having to deal with? In that moment, keenly aware of every single thing that I had gone through and every single thing that had ever been done to me. It was a very woe is me moment, and it's like, what the heck, man? Like, I didn't deserve any of it. And I sat there because I didn't want to be lonely. I had this moment where I'm like, you know what? There's nothing I can't do. Like, legitimately, like, bring me something that I cannot tackle. I don't go to prisons, so I had to show up to this prison, and then I find out all this stuff that he's just not well and stuff like that. And God just shielded me through all of that. Like, it was nothing other than God. Like, I had that moment where I'm like, okay, I can get whatever job that I want. I can marry whoever I want. I can actually have, a checklist. Like, hey, if you don't check all of these boxes, then you can't marry me. It is no longer a situation of desperation. It changes everything when you shift your perspective on the way that you look at these crazy things that you've been through, and then just really start working through them. I'm here to tell you guys, that's what this podcast is about. That is what's really fueled this fire. I want to bring not only my own story, but stories that other people have gone through and how they have overcome those things. If I could just tell them that it's okay, that all these emotions are okay, and all these feelings There's nothing that you just can't get through. There's nothing that you can't overcome. And there are going to be dark times. There's going to be times where you're on the floor. There's going to be times when you can't stop crying. There's going to be times when you're overwhelmed and you're frustrated and you do not see the end of the tunnel. But the great thing is that there is an end to the tunnel, and there are other people that are going through these same things. I connect really well with people that have gone through crazy things. And when I say crazy things, I mean legitimately like, what? Like, they will knock me back a few feet. And with those friends, we get to talk about, which is part of what's fueled this as well. We'll talk about the traumatic experiences that we've been through, and we're like, hey, let me pitch something at you. Do you ever deal with this or something just totally off the wall, totally crazy? I'm like, oh my God, so do I. And then it kind of validates everything that I'm feeling. I'm like, oh my God, I deal with that too. I want this podcast to fuel some of those things that you're going through, to say, no, like, I get it. You get stupid depressed, or what, you wake up in the middle of the night and you're in a cold sweat and you wake up and you have crazy anxiety. I get that. Those things happen to me all the time. And I have to go with this is the best time for it, because this is when people who are lonely are their loneliest. This is the best time to understand that you're not alone. Like, this is just a moment. And if you could see the whole length of your entire life and then realize that this right now is just the sliver of a moment that you're going through, and you will get over this. And in the morning, the sun is going to rise, and every day is going to come, and you're going to be restored, and you're going to be those things that happen the rest of your life typically happen because of things that happen when you're very young. So if you were neglected, if you were abused or anything like that, you're always going to be on high alert, and your body is always going to be on high alert. So when you put yourself in a relationship and you're on high alert, you can only imagine the things that are going to happen because of that. And I deal with a lot of that stuff too. This is something that is real, and it's something that should be talked about. It should be talked about more openly, because it's painful. It's incredibly painful, but I am here to tell you that, look, this journey and your story and trauma and everything that surrounds it is a good thing, depending on how you look at it. It makes you more powerful. A person with a story is so much more powerful because they've endured so much that it's not a whole lot that you can put on them that's going to take them out. And there are other people that are dealing with this with you, so you don't have to be on an island alone. You can actually find the other people that are inhabiting the island with you, and you can actually bring them in and see how they're living and understand how they're getting through it, and you can kind of do that.